The decline of the UK's IT contracting industry since 1995 and its future prospects. Since the mid-1990s, the UK's information technology, IT, contracting sector has undergone profound transformations. Once a vibrant and lucrative domain for skilled professionals, the industry has increasingly become a shadow of its former self due to regulatory, economic, and technological pressures. This essay will examine the rise and fall of IT contracting in the UK, exploring the industry's peak, the critical inflection points that led to its decline, and a speculative view of what the next 30 years might hold for freelance tech professionals in the UK. The analysis will cover not only the economic and policy context but also social and cultural shifts, offering a comprehensive perspective on how and why the industry has changed, and what might be in store for its future. The rise of IT contracting in the 1990s. The mid-1990s represented a golden era for IT contractors in the UK. This period was characterized by rapid advances in computing technologies, the growth of enterprise software systems, and the global expansion of the Internet. These trends created massive demand for skilled IT professionals, a demand which permanent employment structures could not meet. As such, contracting offered organizations a flexible solution. During this decade, organizations were often caught off guard by their need for IT talent. The threat posed by the Millennium Bug, Y2K, where date-related logic errors were feared to bring down critical systems, served as a major catalyst. Businesses, governments, and public services scrambled to address these issues, bringing on board large numbers of IT contractors to remediate legacy code and modernize infrastructure. Contractors were valued not only for their expertise but also for their ability to move quickly between projects. Many operated through limited companies, enjoying favorable tax arrangements, including the ability to deduct business expenses. For the most skilled individuals, daily rates often exceeded those of their permanent counterparts by significant margins. The dot-com boom towards the end of the 1990s added further fuel to the fire. New companies formed almost daily, eager to capitalize on emerging online opportunities. Established firms also began investing heavily in e-commerce and digital services. This wave of innovation created a fertile ground for freelance developers, system architects, analysts, and other tech professionals. Early signs of turbulence, 2000–2010. The collapse of the dot-com bubble in 2000 marked the first significant downturn in the IT contracting industry. A wave of bankruptcies swept through the tech sector, and contract roles dried up virtually overnight. Many contractors were left scrambling for opportunities or were forced to take on permanent positions. However, not all was bleak. The early to mid-2000s still presented ample opportunities in the enterprise software domain, with implementations of systems like Oracle, SAP, and Microsoft Exchange creating fresh demand. Additionally, public sector digital transformation projects and increasing regulatory requirements in financial services, for example, Sarbanes-Oxley, required temporary specialist skills. It was also during this period that offshoring emerged as a formidable force. Companies discovered they could significantly cut costs by outsourcing development and support functions to countries like India and China. Initially limited to large corporations, offshoring quickly gained traction across the board. For many UK contractors, this translated to fewer opportunities and increased pressure to compete on price. Perhaps the most insidious development was the introduction of IR35 in 2000. Designed to clamp down on disguised employment, The legislation aimed to ensure that contractors who effectively worked as employees paid similar tax and national insurance contributions. Although well-intentioned, the legislation was widely criticized for its complexity, vagueness, and the legal uncertainty it created. Contractors now faced the burden of proving they were genuinely self-employed, often leading to costly legal disputes. While enforcement in the early years was sporadic, IR35 sowed a seed of insecurity that would eventually grow into a major deterrent. A decade of erosion, 2010-2020. The 2010s marked a sustained period of erosion for the UK's IT contracting sector. Technological change continued at a rapid pace, but the structure of the labour market began to shift in ways that were unfavourable for traditional contractors. The rise of agile methodologies meant IT projects were increasingly managed by cross-functional, co-located teams. This reduced the reliance on short-term external staff. At the same time, the growth of DevOps and continuous integration practices blurred traditional role boundaries, favoring employees who could be upskilled internally. The gig economy versus traditional contracting. The proliferation of gig economy platforms such as Upwork, TopTal, and Freelancer.com gave businesses access to a global pool of low-cost freelance labor. UK-based contractors found themselves competing with individuals in Eastern Europe, South Asia, and Africa, who could offer similar services at a fraction of the cost. IR35 enforcement and reforms. The second half of the decade saw HMRC take a more aggressive stance on IR35. In 2017, off-payroll rules were extended to the public sector, with hiring bodies now responsible for determining IR35 status. The private sector followed in 2021. These changes imposed new administrative burdens and risks on businesses, leading many to cease engaging contractors altogether. The reforms shifted the onus of compliance from contractors to clients and agencies. Businesses, fearing retrospective tax liabilities, began to implement blanket bans on engaging limited company contractors, regardless of actual employment status. The resulting effect was a mass migration of contractors either into PAYE roles or through umbrella companies, fundamentally altering the nature of the contracting landscape. This stifled entrepreneurial spirit and reduced the flexibility that once defined the sector. Consultancies fill the void. As a result of IR35 uncertainty, many organizations turned to large consultancies to deliver IT services. Unlike independent contractors, consultancies can offer statement of work engagements, removing ambiguity around employment status. These firms, Accenture, Capgemini, Deloitte, and others, stepped into the gap, providing managed teams that took end-to-end responsibility for delivery. While these consultancies bring structured processes and large-scale delivery capabilities, they often come at a higher cost and less agility. Nevertheless, for many risk-averse organizations, especially in the public sector, the trade-off was deemed worthwhile. The dominance of these consultancies has squeezed independent professionals further, consolidating control of projects and budgets into fewer, larger hands. Brexit and political uncertainty. The Brexit referendum and subsequent years of political upheaval added to the climate of uncertainty. Talent mobility was affected, particularly for EU nationals who made up a significant portion of the UK tech workforce. Data governance, intellectual property rights, and compliance frameworks were thrown into question, further disincentivizing investment in UK-based contract roles. The 2020s, COVID-19 and the new normal. The COVID-19 pandemic catalyzed sweeping changes in work culture. Overnight, remote work became the norm. Companies that had previously resisted flexible arrangements found themselves rapidly adopting digital solutions. While this initially appeared to be a boon for IT contractors, reality proved more complex. Shift in hiring practices. As businesses scrambled to digitize, many chose to scale internal teams or contract with large, established consultancies. These organizations offered managed services, reducing legal exposure under IR35. The flexibility and speed once synonymous with contractors were now provided by these larger entities, pushing independence further to the margins. Umbrella companies and eroding autonomy. An increasing number of contractors were pushed into umbrella company arrangements. While these structures offer a degree of compliance simplicity, they also strip away many of the financial advantages of contracting. After paying employers national insurance, administrative fees, and other deductions, take-home pay diminished considerably. Additionally, contractors under umbrella companies often have reduced control over their working conditions and benefits. Shifting priorities. The pandemic also prompted a cultural reassessment. Many IT professionals began to prioritize job security, work-life balance, and mental health. The appeal of high-risk, high-reward contracting diminished as permanent roles became more accommodating and attractive. Key drivers behind the decline. Regulatory pressure. IR35 and other measures aimed at tightening tax compliance have created significant uncertainty and administrative burden for contractors and clients alike. Globalization. Remote work capabilities and international platforms have introduced a level of competition previously unseen. UK contractors must now compete on both price and skill with counterparts worldwide. Corporate risk aversion. Increased scrutiny from HMRC has made businesses risk-averse. Many prefer the legal clarity of permanent hires or the structured services of consultancies. Dominance of large consultancies. Large consulting firms now dominate project delivery, reducing demand for independent contractors and consolidating control over technology budgets and strategic direction. Automation and technological advancement. Advancements in AI, robotic process automation, RPA, and no-code forward/low-code platforms have reduced demand for certain IT roles. Cultural shifts in employment. Modern tech workers often value job security, structured career progression, and team culture, diminishing the appeal of independent contracting. Economic volatility. Macroeconomic instability. From the 2008 financial crisis to the economic impacts of COVID-19 and Brexit, has made short-term hiring riskier. The future of IT contracting in the UK, 2025-2055. Despite current challenges, the story of IT contracting in the UK may not be over. Instead, it may be entering a period of transformation. 1. Rise of specialized freelancers, contractors who cultivate expertise in emerging technologies, cybersecurity, blockchain, quantum computing, ethical AI, will remain in demand. Those who position themselves as thought leaders or consultants in niche domains can still command high rates. 2. Possible regulatory overhaul. Growing criticism of IR35 may eventually force legislative reform. Policymakers may come to see current regulations as stifling innovation and damaging UK competitiveness. A simplified or more flexible regime could revitalize the market. 3. AI and human synergy. The role of the IT contractor will evolve alongside AI. Contractors adept at managing, customizing, and auditing AI systems will find new opportunities. Ethical oversight, bias mitigation, and compliance will become vital niches. 4. Decentralized work ecosystems. Web3 and blockchain technologies may enable new forms of work agreements. Smart contracts could facilitate secure, automatic payment and compliance mechanisms. This could shift the model from employer-contractor to peer-to-peer collaboration. 5. Global mobility and digital nomadism. As digital nomad visas become more common, contractors may base themselves in lower-cost countries while working for UK or international clients. Governments will need to adapt tax and labor laws accordingly. 6. Reskilling and adaptability. Lifelong learning will become non-negotiable. Contractors will need to upskill continually to stay relevant in a landscape where technology changes every few years. 7. Industry-backed platforms and guilds. To address compliance and quality issues, industry-led platforms may emerge to vet contractors and standardize terms. We may also see the revival of trade guilds or associations offering accreditation, legal advice, and collective bargaining. Conclusion. The UK's IT contracting sector has travelled a turbulent path over the past 3 decades, from the heights of the Y2K boom to the depths of IR35 complexity and pandemic-induced shifts. Regulatory burdens, technological advancement, globalization, and the rise of large consultancies have all played roles in reshaping this once lucrative profession. Yet decline is not the same as extinction. The landscape may be harsher, but opportunities remain for those willing to adapt. The next 30 years will be defined not by a return to the past, but by a reimagining of the contractor role, more fluid, more global, more strategic. To enable this future, policymakers must reassess the balance between tax fairness and economic dynamism. Industry must innovate not only in technology but in how it deploys human capital. And contractors themselves must embrace agility, not just in tools and platforms, but in mindset. The age of the IT contractor is not over. It is evolving, and with thoughtful engagement, it may yet re-emerge stronger, smarter, and more resilient than before.